Welcome to Sodanonymous. I'm your host, Sodanonymous. Today's episode is going to be Mexican Pepsi. All right, well, we don't really have any fun facts this time, but basically just to go over what this is, Pepsi in the United States since the 80s switched over from sugar, real sugar, to high fructose corn syrup like most sodas have. And basically, Mexican Pepsi used to be the only way you could get real sugar Pepsi in the U.S. It would be imported into Hispanic markets and whatnot, and that would be the only way to get closer to the original formula. Now, Pepsi has released Pepsi with real sugar, formerly known as Pepsi Throwback. So we've got the American release of Pepsi with real sugar, and we also have the Mexican formulation. Now, from what I've heard reported, these are going to taste differently. I've never had Mexican Pepsi before, so I am very curious about what that difference is going to be. But I've had a fair amount of the Pepsi with real sugar made in America now. So now I'm kind of familiar with it. I know what to expect. So I'm very curious if it's going to taste very similar to that, or if it's going to taste slightly different, maybe more like regular Pepsi or whatever. The ingredients are the exact same in the exact same order, which tells me that these aren't going to be too far off. One thing that's interesting is the Mexican Pepsi does have slightly more sodium, I think 10 milligrams more, and it's 1 gram of sugar less for the same amount of soda. So there is a difference there tangibly, in the nutritional facts. But yeah, beyond that, I think this bottle is really cool looking. I think I prefer this bottle design to the real sugar Pepsi that I did for my real sugar review. And if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and check it down. I'll link it in the description. But yeah, this kind of uses the old early 90s logo, maybe late 80s, but early 90s as well logo. I think it looks really cool. I definitely prefer this look for Pepsi than sort of the new smiley design, the minimalist design with the lowercase lettering. I think this looks a lot cooler. And it's got the old swish. It looks nice. It's painted on, which I love. I love when glass bottles will do that. It's definitely a lot better than a paper or a plastic label. Yeah, I think it just looks really cool. It's more of a standard bottle design. It feels very, very heavy, very robust, which is good. The Mexican Coke also feels sort of solid, and this is the same way. I don't really think I have anything else to say leading up to this. One thing I'll say for clarification, this is the real sugar Pepsi. The reason it's in a can now, I tried to get it in a glass bottle like I had last time, but my supplier didn't have any more. I did some searching. I tried to look around, and I couldn't find it in my area, easily anyway, in a glass bottle. So this is the same product. I have had it in cans before. I've also had it in a plastic bottle, and it tastes fairly similar, besides the inherent differences between containers. So I think this is going to be a fair comparison. But yeah, that's all I have to say leading up to it. So let's get on with the review. All right, let's pop this guy open here. I really like the cap, first of all. I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera, but it's got the swirl and the blue and the red and the white. It looks really good. It's going to go in the bottle cap collection for sure. All right. Now, I'm going to do a smell test here. I'm going to see Mexican Pepsi. That's interesting. All right, hold on. It smells a little bit darker and deeper than the sugar Pepsi that we have in America. It's off initial smell, it's almost more Coke-like. It's got definitely an extra bit of that cola spice. I think it smells definitely more full-bodied. I'm not really getting like a hint of that root smell that I really found very prominent in the American version. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, it just smells like a deep cola. It almost smells more in the Coke camp than I was expecting. It reminds me a little bit of like an RC where it's in the middle of a Pepsi and a Coke. It doesn't smell bad. It actually smells really appetizing. It just doesn't smell like what I was expecting. I'm actually going to go pop this open real quick. I'm going to pop open the Pepsi with real sugar from America. And I'm just going to compare the smell real quick, just to see if I'm making this up. No, the American one is definitely brighter and lighter. It definitely smells more sweet and bright, and this one definitely smells darker and more caramelly, more bitey, that sort of thing. Off initial smell, I think this could be a contender. All right, let's go ahead and drink this now. So this is going to be a blind tasting. Obviously, I've never had this before. So this is going to be Mexican Pepsi. First time going down. That's interesting. It's definitely different. I think it's a lot smoother. It's less bitey than regular Pepsi. It is really light on flavor, almost weak. And I did make sure this was in expiration, so this is not going to expire until July. So it's definitely still good. But much like how I've described Mexican Coca-Cola as being weaker than the homegrown original, I think this is definitely a weaker, lighter take on Pepsi. I don't think it's bad. It's nice and mellow. It's got kind of a honey taste from the real sugar. It's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and compare this to the American real sugar real quick. So let's try this. It's pretty night and day. Yeah, for sure. To me, this tastes almost in the middle of the American real sugar and the regular Pepsi. This tastes more like what I would have expected Pepsi with real sugar to taste like. Whereas the Pepsi Cola with real sugar, I ended up really, really liking. And I've actually incorporated it, and it's the first time I've ever incorporated Pepsi, regular Pepsi, into my sort of drinking routine. And I really like the American Pepsi with real sugar, but it tastes to me fundamentally different than Pepsi. It's in a similar ballpark in terms of it's a sweet cola, but there's so much more going on in terms of flavors and spices and smells. It's a really good take on a cola. This is a little bit less exciting. It's definitely a lot more simple. I think it has a little bit more of that almost like limey taste that Pepsi tends to have, where the American version has none of that. But the American high fructose corn syrup version has that in spades more. So this is kind of in the center. Yeah, it's pretty simple. I don't think it's exceptional. Honestly, I wish it was a little bit sweeter. It's almost like it's missing a bit of the pop that I would want from a Pepsi, because it's not biting my tongue as much as like a Coca-Cola. It doesn't have as strong or as deep or as complex of a flavor as Coca-Cola. But that's not really what I'm looking for when I'm going for Pepsi. When I'm going for Pepsi, I want something bright and sort of quick and simple and colorful. That's what you're looking for. And the Pepsi with real sugar American version does that exceptionally well. It's very good. It's just great. The Mexican version, I mean, it's kind of lacking. I think it's fine. It's not bad. If you're a fan of Pepsi, you're probably going to like this. But I wouldn't go out of your way to seek this version out. You might want to do it just to give it a shot. Maybe if the American Pepsi with real sugar does not taste enough like Pepsi to you, and you want to taste a more subdued Pepsi flavor rather than sort of a fundamentally new flavor, then maybe you'd go for the Mexican Pepsi. But I don't know, it's not wowing me, which is kind of a disappointment. I kind of wanted it to be something special, but it's whatever. It's fine. I'm going to go ahead and compare it to regular now. Let's pop this guy open. Yep. You know what? Even high fructose corn syrup Pepsi is stronger and more. It leaves more of an impact on your taste buds. I wouldn't say the flavor formulation is necessarily better. They're both pretty similar in terms of flavor, but in terms of strength, I would say that the American high fructose corn syrup Pepsi is stronger than the Mexican sugar Pepsi, which, is interesting. Yeah, I'm going to have to give that I think I'm going to have to give it a 5. I think it might be worse than a regular Pepsi, which is interesting to me. Regular Pepsi, I give a 6. I'm not a huge fan, but I'm on the positive side. The Pepsi made with real sugar from America, I gave a 10, and I will stand by that review. I do think that it's bordering on 9 and 10 for me. I'm still trying to figure it out how it works in my life, but it is a really, really good soda, and I like it a lot, and I've had it upwards of 8 or 9 times since I've done the review, and I would consider this now among my favorite colas, with Coke and whatnot. This is good. It's boring. I think it's really boring. It's better than a lot of bargain colas, which I would put more on the bad side. But it's just the regular Pepsi flavor, but watered down, not exceptionally carbonated. It's smooth. I would say it's a little bit smoother than regular Pepsi. But it's not interesting. It's not very exceptional. The only difference in flavor between these two, because this one's off on doing its own thing. Pepsi with real sugar America is doing its own thing. The only difference between these two is this one's weaker, and the sweetness is slightly more honey-like than just like sweetness. If that makes sense, it has a little bit of extra caramelly notes to the sweetness. It's got a little bit of that dark in there, but they're really similar flavors, and I don't think you need to seek this out, especially when this exists and you can get this on store shelves right next to regular Pepsi, and I think it's 10 times better. So that's really my review of Mexican Pepsi. Kind of a bummer, but there you go. I think the bottle's really cool and the cap's really cool, so I'm going to keep that. But I'm probably never going to buy this again. I'm not impressed. But anyway, that's how it goes sometimes. So have you guys ever had Mexican Pepsi? Love it, hate it? Let me know down in the comments below. Have you ever compared Mexican Pepsi with American Pepsi with real sugar? Do you have a preference there? Let me know what you think about that. Like, comment, subscribe. Do whatever you have to do, spread around, engage with me. If there's a soda you want me to review, let me know, and I'd love to do that for you guys. So yeah, that's about all I have to say on this one. So this is Sodanonymous signing off, and hope to see you next time. Thanks.